Hello and welcome to the first lecture of a new section on talent acquisition as the first step in building excellence in HR generalist, as in HR generalist. So what are we going to do in this section is to give you in-depth understanding of how to acquire talent to become an excellent HR generalist and build a great career in HR. And in this lecture, we will first outline to you the overall talent acquisition process, and we will start covering some of the steps in detail as we go forward, starting with this lecture itself. So, how best do you think you can acquire the talent that you need, your company needs, your organization needs? What are your thoughts? Any thoughts that you have? So what we have for you is a process that can help you acquire the talent in the best possible manner, and that can give you the required talent for your company and organization. First, you need to identify what are the open positions, right? Open position meaning what are the vacancies that you have, at what level, how many. So you identify the open position. Second, for those open positions, you need to define the right job requirements. Job requirements, what do they mean? We will talk to you a little bit in this lecture itself later on. Once you have defined the right job requirements, which normally comes in the form of a job description, you need to source the candidate. Your final talent can be only as good as the source of the candidate, as they say in the IT, garbage in, garbage out. And same here. If you want to get really good talent for your organization and have them join you, then you need to source really good candidates. Once you have sourced the candidate, you need to screen the candidate. You need to pick ones that you will go forward, one you need to pick that you will drop here. Then you need to evaluate. Screening and evaluate are two different processes. Screening will basically mean that you remove that you don't need, that do not meet the requirement. Evaluation means among those shortlisted, then you see which one meet your requirements in a much better way or best possible way. That will bring you to having identifying few candidates that you can go ahead and make an offer. Once you make an offer or prior to offer or after the offer, you do what is called a reference checks and you start selecting the people that will be recruited for your organization. And then you give them an offer and they accept it. And the final thing is that it doesn't end here. There is many slip between cup and the lip, and so what you need to make sure as an HR generalist is to make sure that those people that you have gone and evaluated, screened, reference checked, and made an offer join your organization as the need is. So that's the overall process that you have of recruiting or acquiring talent in an excellent way. So let's start with the first step of the process. So how do you identify the open position? Any thoughts? There are two broad ways that you identify open position. One is what is called annual manpower planning. And it's a part of the annual business planning process. Every year you would plan the business, and HR being one of the functions would also plan with the help of other businesses, other functions in the business of what are the HR manpower requirement for the coming years, including this year as well as next year. And for this, what you do is you get in touch with the functional heads for their next year manpower requirements and after approval of their functional plans by the business head. So the whole business planning cycle works in which the functional heads present their plans and the business head approves it. And once that functional plan is approved, then you say, okay, can I know what kind of people, how many would you need for what position that you would need in the year to come. Then you identify the next year's position-wise new manpower requirements. So that gives you a annual manpower requirements. Typically, this happens. The planning starts taking place from September, October onwards. So October, November, December, you start getting the functional plans identified, functional plans approved, and Jan, Feb, March, you could go ahead with identifying the annual manpower requirement. In addition to annual manpower requirement, there could also be what is called ongoing manpower planning. People join and people leave. So this process keeps track of the position manned and vacant on an ongoing basis. And there are many ways you can do that. That typically, as an HR generalist, you would reach out to your functional heads or other people and, hey, sir, what positions are vacant as of now? And since how long has this been vacant? And that becomes the one way to identify the open position. Then you identify the manpower replacement requirements as soon as the incumbent resigns. So since you also have a good idea of the resignations and you actually approve the resignations and carry on the process, so as soon as someone resigns, you should make your own chart of the replacement requirements of the manpower in consultation, obviously, of the functions head or the functional heads, let's say that. And as a result of that, you keep in touch with functional heads regularly every month to validate the open positions list. So in a typical month, you will figure out that someone has left in sales or someone has left in marketing or in purchase, and you will know that these are the open positions. And now it's important to validate those open positions with the functional heads because it may happen that they may think of not fulfilling, not making the replacement for this position or maybe replacing in a different way. So it's good, it's always a good practice to keep in touch with the functional heads every month to validate the open position list that you have. So we talked about defining the job requirements. So so the second step is defining the right job requirements. So how do you define the right job requirements? Any thoughts? So defining the right job requirement essentially means defining the specification of the person that will ensure that person is the right person for that job. And it basically, as you see on the left hand side, consists of things that are essential and consists of things that are nice to have. So very simply defining this means basically listing the essential and nice things to have a person to do the job under consideration. The key is, however, to find these things and classify them as essential and nice to have on the basis of the things that will ensure that the person turns out the required performance. So the two things in this. One is to find out what are the things and then to rightly classify. How would it look like? So a job requirement would basically have two main components as you see. One, it will be a position description. This section of the job requirement would specify the name of the position for which the job requirement is being defined, its location, position it reports to, the reporting position, the position that will report to this position and overall responsibility. So these are the things that go in the position description. Then in addition to this position description, you also write what is called job requirements, and this section specifies following things as you see here as essential and desirable. It says what are the education requirements, what are the knowledge the person that we want to recruit for this position should have, what should be the skills the person should have, what kind of experience should the person have to do well in this position, what are the demographics in terms of age, sex, marital status, languages known, etc., etc. And what kind of total cost to the company that would help you get this kind of a role, this kind of person that can fulfill this job requirement. So what do we do in the next module? So in the next module, we will look at an interesting question of how to develop these job requirements. Your ability to find the right people, build the right talent entirely depends, a very large thing depends on your job requirements. If you make a mistake in defining the job requirements, you will select the people as per the job requirement defined, and that may not be the right person to perform and give you the best output, best performance for your organization. So how do you develop a right job requirement is the topic of the next lecture. So thank you so much for watching this first lecture of talent acquisition in this course on how to become an excellent HR generalist. I hope you continue to learn something new, continuing to enjoy, and I do look forward to see you again in the next lecture.